Welcome back, guys. Today I thought I'd take another look at SparkyLinux, the new 5.0. Now, over the weekend, that was released, and I just want to go over a couple of interesting comparisons. Now, if we take a look at what's considered to be the stable version of Sparky, which is the 4.6.1, STB stands for the stable version. They've got LXDE, XFCE, and then you've got a what's called a minimal GUI, no codecs. And that is basically an Openbox installation. Now, if we look at the new rolling release based on testing, which is the 5.0, so far I don't see any LXDE version. It's replaced by LXQT. And there's a Mate version, XFCE, and again the 5.0 minimal GUI, no codecs. Now, I took a look at the LXQT version, and I will be releasing a video on that within a day or so. But today's video, I thought I would take a look at the minimal GUI, because that one kind of flies under the radar. It doesn't have a whole lot of explanation when you look at the website. And so I took a look. I did a side-by-side comparison. I'm going to show you both versions. The 5.0 based on testing and the 4.6.1 based on stable. Now, in their latest news section of the website, you can see back on July 8th, Sparky 4.6.1, then July 16th, Sparky 5.0, and they're also announcing a new application available for Sparkers, gamers, Lutris. It's an open gaming platform for Linux, helps you install and manage your games in a unified interface. And that I'm going to be taking a separate look at. That would be a topic for a whole separate video. But first of all, I'd like to take a look at the two versions of the minimal GUI. Now, there's also a minimal CLI, a command line interface, which I did not take a look at. And I imagine that's probably a version that doesn't see a whole lot of downloads. But I was very curious about the minimal GUI because it is based on Openbox. So let's take a quick look at those two versions. Now, the version that you're looking at right here is the stable version. That is the 4.6.1. Now, I did a comparison, and I'd like to bring up a couple notes on that. Now, again, it's a minimal GUI version. In the 4.6.1 version, based on stable, the panel is FB panel, which is what you see right here. In 5.0, which I'm going to show you in a minute, that's got a Tint 2 panel. But keep in mind that both panels are available on both versions. All you need to do is enable them in your AutoStart file. And I'll show you that in a minute. Now for CPU on boot, now I didn't do a whole lot of messing with these. All I did was install NVIDIA and install my Wi-Fi drivers. Now CPU on boot 4.6.1 ironically was 0.12. Now again, that has the FB panel. The 5.0, which is based on testing and it has the Tint 2 panel, was 0.05, so a little bit less utilization of CPU. RAM on boot was 261 megabytes on 4.6.1, 313 megabytes on 5.0. The kernel on the stable version is 4.9, and the kernel on the testing version is 4.11. Now, the downside of having a later kernel is that Realtek Wi-Fi drivers for the RTL8812 cannot be compiled properly in 4.11. So, up to now, through all my research, I have not found a way to compile the Realtek RTL8812AU. So, that would be a deal breaker for me. So if I want to use the 5.0, I have to downgrade the kernel to 4.9, at which time I can get my Realtek Wi-Fi activated. NVIDIA, no problems on both. Now there are some other aesthetic differences between the two, and I'll show you that. It's not huge. It involves the introduction of some new wallpapers. There's a dark theme in the new version. Now you can also, with a little extra work, you can get the dark theme on the 4.6.1. So the aesthetic differences are not huge. The big difference is the kernel, and the big difference for me, and for you also if you have a Realtek Wi-Fi, is that it can't be utilized with a 4.11 kernel. Okay, so let's take a look around. Now, if I right-click the desktop, because this is a Openbox installation, if I right-click the desktop, you get the OB menu with icons. Now, there's not a whole lot that gets installed with the Minimal GUI versions, but you do have PCMan FM File Manager, Terminal. Web browser on this particular version is Midori. For accessories, you can see what's installed here. Development, graphics. I installed GIMP. Multimedia, I installed VLC SM Player. It's also got Midori private browsing, Office Suite installer. You've got all your settings pretty much standard. Everything is configurable. It's pretty full featured for a minimal GUI. No, I haven't found any issues with it. It runs nice and smooth. It does give you the advantages of Openbox in that it doesn't have a whole lot of bloat. Very minimal. Now you can see the panel, OB menu generator, and Openbox configuration. Now if you go to auto start, you see the FB panel is enabled out of the box, but of course you can install Tint 2 and enable that in your auto start and replace this FB panel with Tint 2. Now, the advantage of the FB panel is it gives you a minimal menu here. So you don't really need to use that right-click menu very often. You can get most of what you're looking for in this panel menu. And of course you've got some shortcuts, launchers, and you've got your open windows, you've got your system tray. So this is the 4.6.1 stable version based on kernel 4.9. And I'm going to pause this video. I'll be right back, and I'll be in the new 5.0 version based on testing, and we'll take a look around that desktop. Be right back, guys. Okay, guys, welcome back. This is the 5.0 Minimal GUI, again based on Openbox. You can see the difference in the wallpaper, but as I said, the aesthetics are resolvable. You can pretty much use these wallpapers in the older version. You can put any wallpaper you like. You can swap your panels between Tint 2 and FB panel. If I right click. Now on the Tint 2 panel, of course, you don't have a menu in the panel. If I click on that little icon, it's a run command. So there is no panel menu. However, you have the full right click menu. If I go to advanced settings, you can see FB panel is installed. And if I go to Openbox, Openbox Auto Start, the only things that are set up to auto start are nitrogen, which restores your latest wallpaper, the last used wallpaper, screensaver, and you can see the Tint 2 panel is enabled by default, and the FB panel is commented out or disabled. Now, you can swap to the FB panel just by putting you can comment out Tint 2 and you can uncomment FB panel, and once you log out, log back in, you will have FB panel with that menu. If I open up a terminal and just type in FB panel, you can see that FB panel appears as basically on top of Tint 2. Now, of course, you can move this and have one at the top, one at the bottom, but just to give you an idea, once you enable FB panel, you will now have that same menu. You'll have your launchers, you'll have your open windows, you'll have your system tray. So you can use either one. Now I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to open up a terminal, and you can see here that I have the 4.9 kernel enabled, and that's because I wanted my Wi-Fi working. You can see Wi-Fi is working, and I'm connected to my Wi-Fi network. However, if you don't have a Realtek Wi-Fi, then the 4.11 kernel should be fine for you. Now, if I open up Synaptic, you can see that I have the Linux image 4.11 and Linux image 4.9.0. I have both of them installed. I can access one or the other from my Grub boot screen just by going to the options for that particular installation and then selecting 4.9 or 4.11. So I have access to both. Now, I don't notice any real operational difference between the two as far as speed. I'm sure there are some subtle differences between the two, but for me, for my computer configuration, 4.9 is fine, and that gives me access to my Realtek Wi-Fi. Now, if you go into System, you'll see that just about all of the normal configuration options are available on both versions, including apt-us. Now, if I click on that, you'll see that it gives you configuration options that Sparky normally gives you. And so I went ahead and installed multimedia codecs. I basically prepped the system for my NVIDIA install and my specifically the NVIDIA install, which is really what requires codecs. If you're going to do gaming and Steam, for example, I'm not sure if I installed Steam on this. Looks like I haven't installed Steam yet. So I've got NVIDIA excuse me, I've got NVIDIA working fine. I've got my Realtek Wi-Fi, but again, if I enable that 4.11 kernel, my Realtek Wi-Fi goes away. So you've got all of the normal configuration options that Sparky gives you. You can add desktops, you can remove those desktops, and so you can maintain your system, and it's very useful because it gives you some help dealing with a lot of the normal day-to-day maintenance and configuration issues. So for if you like Openbox, then and you like Debian, then these minimal GUI versions, you'd probably be very happy with either of them. 4.6 versus 5.0, and I've explained to you what the differences are mainly, and so you can make up your mind which one you want to go for. Now, in the 4.6, you can install the 4.11 kernel, and also, as you can see, I installed the 4.9 in the 5.0. So you've got the best of both worlds, and I really like these. Now, as I said, I did install the LXQT version in 5.0. I've In the past I've installed the LXD version, which was available in 4.6.1, and I really enjoy that. But I'm going to do a video on the LXQT version sometime within the next day or so, and so I can give you my thoughts on that. But in the meantime, guys, I'm going to end this video right here. This is the SparkyLinux Minimal GUI. Comes with an Openbox installation, and the 4.6.1 and the 5.0 is available. So guys, thanks for stopping by the channel today. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Thumb the videos up if you found them helpful, and I'll see you soon. Take care.